Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2. We hinted at this in episode 1. The speed of loyalty is very different. So today we're going to talk about fast versus slow and everything kind of in between, and why category economics shape loyalty success. You've got myself, Damien Lucas, you've got Carly, and you've got Adam, all talking about loyalty today, part of retail therapy. So let's get into the episode. Loyalty is not a universal model. It is shaped by purchase cycle and profit structure. A customer who buys groceries twice a week behaves very differently from someone who buys a sofa once every 5 years. The economics of loyalty only work when the model matches the rhythm and the customer behavior. And Carly talked about that in our episode 1.
Well, thanks, Damien. And I think this is the key to loyalty economics, right? We're talking about fast purchasing or slow categories. Fast purchasing being your supermarkets, some beauty as well, and it's creating habit out of a routine. Whereas the slower categories might, as you said, be the furniture and some luxury items, and it's a bit more related to identity, emotion. But we're trying to run this loyalty model across fast and slow, and it's just interesting when you get into how to design for this, how to run this, and what the expectations and the metrics look like. And this is a really fun space to talk about what are we really doing between fast and slow loyalty.
Yeah, I love this topic, fast and slow. It kind of reminds me of that book, Fast and Slow Thinking, which is kind of like almost the analogy in loyalty programs, because you're absolutely right. The brand, the buying behavior, by definition, how often you purchase that item, whatever brand it is critical to what the structure and all the behaviors that you want to influence. And Carly, you actually said something quite important, because some of those more considered purchases, which are, every period of time rather than the habitual ones, there's much more of a what I would call almost a heart set. So like more of an identity to that. And we'll get to the brands in a minute. But the speed that we talk about, I think, is really an interesting topic.
So let's get into fast loyalty, so high frequency categories. Fast categories like supermarkets succeed in loyalty because they have a natural frequency built in. The economic opportunity to increase basket size and ensure customer never lapses. Woolworths move customers from occasional to habitual shoppers. That increases contribution margin and protects their market share.
Yeah, well, in short, this is, as you said, it's habit, it's behavioral, and it's high frequency. So it's not really an emotive style purchase anyway. But there does need to be some consideration into the types of buying and the buying behavior still. We can't just forget it just because it is habit and it is an essential item. Petrol is in the same space. But I guess this is where we look at how do we become part of their a consumer's everyday life, how we're relating to them, but making a habitual high frequency item easy and simple and quick to engage with. They need to still be useful.
Yeah, and if it's the fast category, we're talking about all the high speed or the high frequency categories. You've also got to be careful there that, everything you said has got to be simple, it's got to be personal, it's got to be valuable, the old SPV that I always live by. But the thing is, you don't want zombies. You want people who don't just tap and go without realizing why they're doing it. You want them to be a bit more engaged. And so you've got to be able to use the data, do the comms, and not let them just not realize why they're doing it or what they're doing it for, because then they're not really engaged and they'll drop out or go elsewhere. So we don't want zombies when you've got high frequency. You want engaged members. Again, back to the category and overlaying more than just money. It's all about that experience, as Carly, as we've spoken about. So yeah, let's talk about some of those examples.
Yeah, so kind of get into the other aspect of, I suppose, the low frequency category. So for all intents and purposes, slow loyalty. So in slow cycle categories like furniture, which I've been in at 40 Winks with selling bed and bedroom furniture, at best, people change that over their bed or their mattress over every 7 to 10 years. So not high frequency purchase whatsoever, but a category that's always seems to be on sale, because we never know when someone's in market, but when they're in market for 2 weeks. An interesting slow category to give you experience on. Then you've got fashion, luxury, and some electronics, at which you can't rely on high frequency purchases. So you must build emotional memory and mental availability to have long-term affinity with your customers. Customers may only purchase a few times a year, and loyalty has to really be earned through your margin and brand preference and attachment at that point of accumulation. So, yeah.
Well, I think here as well, when we talk about slower loyalty, the personalization and proper effective engagement is really key, and making sure that you're available and ready when they are ready to buy. So as you said, it might only be 7 years, but you need to be the choice every 7 years. And if you're not engaging in other elements and in other ways and multiple channels in the omni-channel experience, they're not going to come to you. They'll forget about you over the 6.5 years. And then by the time they hit 7 to buy the next bed or whatever it may be, they're going somewhere else or looking just for discounts. So there is that personalization and engaging consistently is so important, even in slow loyalty.
Yeah, and I think all three of us are talking about this concept of slow and fast loyalty. We haven't discussed programs underneath that. And in the betting example you spoke about, Damien, I mean, did you have a loyalty program by definition to engage those people who only bought a bet every 7 years? Or did you just have a data set and you just threw out some comms?
Look, we understood who our profitable customers were, but engaging them with such a long distance between purchasing cycles was difficult. So we made the choice many years before I got there to actually partner with Qantas and use Qantas Frequent Flyer as our, I suppose, substitute program, and managed to leverage that as I suppose, high perceived value to come and shop with us when they thought of us. But one of our major competitors, Snooze, had Velocity, so what we could do, they could do, and vice versa.
No differentiation there.
It made it difficult to differentiate.
Yeah. So you have to rely on the brand, the proposition, your customer service, and all the other things. And then you were borrowing someone else's currency, aka the flying companies, to try and hook people. Say, oh my gosh, I'm buying a bed. It's a few $1,000s. I'll get X few thousand points. I'll go there or there. Interesting. Yeah, I think the program structures for fast and slow is really where the meat and the potatoes is, and how you build a structure around a long sales cycle versus every week or every few weeks.
So let's go at the speedy end. 𝗂𝗏, if you can talk us through fast loyalty with the habit engine.
This one's a really great one out of the US, Ulta Beauty, really catering towards different levels you can move through. It's got some similarities in a lot of beauty programs where there is the free samples and those experiential moments also. But this one does a really great job in predicting engagement, and they're using some really great AI tools at the moment. So what I love about this is they're understanding the market, they're using tools available, and they're making sure that they're keeping the comms, the personalization going in between purchases. They've got the fast and the slow because they've got the high frequency, but some purchases in beauty are still longer cycles. So they're making sure to stay engaged and engaging their members during the longer cycles of some of the higher purchase items.
Excellent. Thank you, 𝗂𝗏. Adam, did you want to go through your case, which was
one of my favorite programs is 𝗬𝗃 Family. And I find it fascinating. First of all, they're very innovative. They're always looking to improve their program. But, the buying cycle of 𝗬𝗃, I don't know the numbers, but I'd suggest it's not every week. It might be 4 times a year, 5 times a year. It depends on the audience and or what's happening in your home. And the 𝗬𝗃 effect and the whole 𝗬𝗃 case study is massive in itself. But the loyalty program itself, 𝗬𝗃 Family, has actually got a new structure in it. And I find it fascinating. They've actually added a points mechanic. They call them Allen keys. So you collect keys based on purchases, but more importantly on interactions, not transactions. So they're building an economy based on interactions, like, for example, creating wish lists and a few other things. You get these keys. So call it a point, and they're using those, letting people then redeem those for money off shipping or various others. So they've got an earn and redeem proposition within a slow, by definition, a slow cycle purchase over and above other benefits. So they're almost breaking the mold of the way they've structured their program in a typically slow category with the mechanic that's for a fast category. And that's why I find it really interesting.
I want to call out that one as well. One thing I really love, it's great when you see programs being quite creative with the names, like the Allen key. We all know why they've brought that name in, and that's quite fun. And that's a fun side of loyalty, naming things in a great way. But the part where they're creating a value exchange for not only purchasing, but not only actually buying. So it's clever because, as we've talked about in previous times, not everyone can spend the same, and not every consumer can buy as frequently or as high value as they may like. But what are we doing for the lower spend customers and creating a value exchange, they can still participate. I think that's where this is really smart, that valuing the interaction as well as a purchase.
Excellent. Thank you, Carly, and thank you, Adam. Like, get the kind of closing out the case studies here. I'll talk about fast loyalty, but from a data to margin model from the UK. So Tesco Club Card, been around for a long time and been held up as one of the I suppose best in class for many years. Tesco transformed its entire business through loyalty, not just by rewarding customers, but by using loyalty data to make strategic decisions on pricing, range, promotions, and also their site expansion. So their club card turned data into profit, which I love. It was one of their, I suppose, the first global examples of loyalty as a commercial engine. Customers felt recognised. They were receiving offers that were tailored to their household, their preferences, and their life stage, and that level of relevance built trust with the consumers. From an economic perspective, Tesco used the club card insights to improve contribution margin by removing unprofitable promotions and also driving incremental spend from its most valuable customers. So an interesting part being the data side of a very fast and dynamic category. Let's move into what we would do from how we would design for speed. I'll have my take first and pass on to you, Carly and Adam. The first step is accepting that loyalty must match the purchase rhythm of the category, which we all be in agreement on here. Fast loyalty must focus on habit. Slow loyalty must focus on identity. And if you mismatch that model, you'll either overinvest in your rewards program, or that will actually go unused, or you'll underinvest in emotional drivers where they matter the most.
Well, I think here as well, behavioral design, there's generally like a natural customer cycle we have to consider and be mindful of. So the fast cycle categories, we're looking to create sort of automatic behaviors, but keep it really simple and frictionless and consistent. Then the slow cycle categories, obviously we want to build some anticipation and keep the engagement in between the purchases, especially the long cycles. So what are we doing in between that for personalisation, comms, etc.? And I guess it's what's the narrative? It's not just a transaction. What's the value exchange at all different levels of a purchase frequency, purchase cycle, and ability to spend?
Yeah, I'm going to sum it up quite simply, and I just made it up on the spot thanks to both of your brilliance, which is fast loyalty for me, got to lead with habit and then go to the heart. And slow loyalty, you got to lead with the heart and then create a habit if you can.
You heard it here
I don't know if you like that one, but it was first said on this amazing new podcast. What are we calling it? A podcast? Yeah.
The Retail Therapy Podcast.
Yeah. First came up thanks to the brilliance of both of you. That's my outtake.
Wonderful. Well, let's get into some, I suppose, what we'd say, some 3 core principles of loyalty, which, Adam, I think you've led the way with there. So, Carly, did you want to start her off with this behavioural principles?
Yeah, sure. I think it does vary the maybe the balance of equity you give each of these principles, but based on fast and slow. So whether it's creating identity in your identity, the habit, the advantage, and driving that emotional connection, and it does need a different weighting based on the different type of program. And I think that they all still stand true and they're all important, but I guess back to the new breaking news from Adam. It's just where are we putting the focus and the right focus based on the speed of the program.
Yeah, look, from an economic perspective, you're trying to reward every customer equally. You're not trying to reward them equally. You're trying to increase the contribution margin and lifetime value from the most profitable segments. I suppose fast loyalty increases your frequency, increases in frequency, but slow loyalty increases that emotional price elasticity, so willingness to pay. Both look really good economic levers, but not necessarily branding exercises.
Wow. I don't know how to follow both of those in sense of, well, when you do the numbers, the behavior you're going to change and how long it takes before they go to the next sale and what happens in between. So if I keep it simple, back to your bed example, what do you do in the 7 years, Damien, between now and the time, especially with a program? And, you think of Automotive, who are now building out programs. You think of, these long sales cycle, these considered purchases. I just think it's about back to purpose. Why do you want to program? And what are the behaviors, belief, and belonging that you want to influence?
Look, I'm with you, Adam. It's as you mentioned before, the kind of the 2 speeds is habit to heart and heart to habit. And yeah, it's that loyalty experience. So what is that loyalty experience, that customer experience you're giving, irrespective of the speed cycle, whether it's a fast loyalty or slow loyalty or in between. And when you stack purchase frequency and contribution margin, reveal whether fast loyalty is actually profitable. And if frequency is rising but margins falling, you really don't have loyalty, you have a dependency there. Loyalty only works when it increases both the volume and the profit. And then, yeah, over to you two geniuses.
Maybe more just simplistically, it's almost, if you're getting customers and they're emotionally attached, but they don't really come back, it's a great sentiment, but that's not loyalty.
No.
And slower loyalty, obviously, when we lead with action and there's that level of identity, that's what we're really driving for. So it really depends, I think, around sentiment to actually frequently engaging in whatever way is logical.
Yeah, I want to take that a little bit further, what you said. When you get emotional loyalty, it might not be money on the bank balance, but they'll tell others. And so we've got to remember that there's an intended consequence, an intended consequence from emotional connection to a brand. So they'll tell everyone, and you'll get, it's your greatest advertising when everyone tells everyone. So whilst it might not land back into your bottom line, Damien, it might bring another 30 people in the door, which lands on your bottom line. We can't forget that, and you brought it up in the first episode, Carly, and I remember that it's not only about the transaction, and it is because that's how you can prove it, but how do you create the emotional connections that people tell others?
Yeah, so you've got your lifetime value with your customer cohorts, and then you've got word of mouth, getting that, that emotional connection, getting more customers coming through the door. So hopefully that should drop your acquisition costs as well. Look, the speed of your category should determine the mechanics of your loyalty. I think we all agree. And you need to match that model to the rhythm of that customer's behavior, as Carly, you spoke of a couple of times. And then loyalty becomes your greatest source of profit if we're doing it right. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Carly. Really enjoyed doing this second episode with you, and look forward to doing the third one soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Damien.